Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our December 1st council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 17th. Any additions or corrections?
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting on November 17th, 2014. Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2014-22 in the amount of $196,783.32. Chris.
Page 3, Fire Department. First line, Michigan State Firemen Association, sanitary sewer system improvement.
Yeah, it's a typo.
Okay. Same page down towards the bottom, Excel graphics, decals for the city vehicles. We were going to get reimbursed on that from
Yes.
WPPI?
Yeah, that's all reimbursable,
Okay.
100%.
And that's all I had.
George.
Page 1. Right in the middle, this is more curiosity. Police Department, right in the center, prime supply, 130A bolt on amp. What might that be? Anybody have any idea what that might be?
Yeah, it's a 30 amp bolt-in breaker. The police department had a bad breaker, circuit breaker in their panel.
Okay.
It was for a heater, floor heater. They had to replace it.
Just curious, Joe, on that one.
Yep.
Electric fund, right down on the bottom. Water pilot, FMX 21 hydro ram.
That, George, is a water pressure sensor. We use it in the headwater. It sends back a signal that we convert for elevation, and it got hit by lightning over the summer. And it's going to be part of several claims that we will be submitting. I've given the paperwork to Tricia. She's already notified the insurance company. Those last couple thunderstorms we had towards the end of summer, we took some issues at the hydro, and some of the equipment has got destroyed because of it. So over time here, you'll see some of this stuff trickling in.
What kind of lightning protection do we have down there, Joe, just out of curiosity? You had mentioned.
Well, on all the high voltage side of things where the 7,200 volts come in, there's 9 sets of lightning arresters from the top of the hill down. And then on the low voltage side, we have the low voltage lightning arresters as it comes into the low voltage cabinets. But that's not where the lightning is getting in off the power lines, George. It's coming in off the big steel structures. The facility itself actually gets hit by lightning on the big steel gantries, and it comes in through the grounds, and that's what causes us the problems. There's really not a whole heck of a lot we can do about that. This is a problem that we've had for since a long time, way before I came. The guys that work down there has always told me there's been issues with lightning hitting those steel gantries.
Huh.
A lot of the rock around there is iron ore, and the lightning's kind of attracted to those bluffs.
Okay,
A lot of ore in that area, so.
okay. And then the last page, Badger Auto Repair, the control harness, 30 IP. Any idea what that is? That's on the water fund? Last item.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, George. I'm trying to refresh my memory here. Why don't you let me check on that and get back to you? Because I offhand, I just
It's nothing,
can't remember the description.
it's nothing important anyhow, Joe. I just kind of look through it. I pick out the
Yeah.
biggest items here and then kind of, if I don't understand what they are, I circle. I don't think so. That's all I have here.
Dr. Hayes?
Oh, is it?
I was wondering if you could elaborate
I didn't know
on
that's how you
the
designated a plow.
online training for Channel 7 program to $380.
Do they?
What that was?
It's a training program for the new Channel 7 program. We're doing scheduling and some of the operations.
Yeah.
It's a webinar.
So it's because there's new people or because there's
It's a new program.
New program.
It's a new program.
Any other, the only concern I had really was the Oak Crest pump purchase power. I wonder if we made any inroads on being able to supply our own power.
Nope, we're still bound by the state law on that issue, territory issue.
The only questions I had.
Wait,
A couple I had were asked and answered.
I have no other questions either. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve manifest 2014-22 in the amount of $196,783.32.
Support?
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience have any questions on the minutes, manifest, or agenda items? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. If not, there'll be a further time for comment on any subject at the end of the meeting. Okay, this evening we have 2 things on the agenda. The first one is the Strawberry Lake Park stump grinding. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last number of months, the Parks and Rec Committee has been getting briefed through our forester on, some of the wood cutting projects that we have. We did the Strawberry Lake cutting earlier this year. We also have a requirement by the mining inspector to deal with brushing up along fencing that goes along the property surrounding the mines, or at least our property, mine property, but then the fencing that protect those mines. And we've been getting different quotes for doing some of this brushing. One of the areas that we said early on is that we wanted to try and get the stumps removed out of Strawberry Lake and start replanting and start re-preparing those areas. And one of the things that Otto picked up on was that there was an option from one of these contractors to actually grind those stumps and leave the chips, and and then we could recondition, we start planting. We talked about doing some of that in-house. We just don't think that we're going to get to that. I think it's important, for keeping this project moving, and we do have monies in the Parks and Rec for, from some of the timber sales, from the previous timber sales. So we did get pricing for grinding stumps. Otto was able to get down into Strawberry Lake and flag before this last snowfall, stake and flag. He said about 125 stumps. He said there's well over 150 stumps that could be addressed. So what I did was we got a per stump price. I know we have 125. I'm sure we have 150, so I used 150. And we had Newlands Landscaping gave us a price of $25 per stump. We did get Jim West that gave us $29 per stump, but Newlands was able to have slightly better price. The total with 150 stumps is $3,750. I'm actually asking for an even 4 because that allows it just to keep working, and we are going to have $4,300 coming from the timber sale as well, from the timber cut down at the well site that we passed a few meetings ago. So anyway, that's my request, and solicit any comments.
I find it hard to believe that there's such a difference in the price on those stumps. I mean, the one is $52 versus 25,
Yeah,
and
actually,
another
the
one
two,
at 50.
well, the two at 50, in fairness, those were prices that we got over the summer when we were talking about tree cutting out on the boulevard. And we did give them a call for, to see if they'll freshen up their numbers. We did not hear back. By the time this went out on Friday, I was hoping we could hear back today. We didn't hear back today. I used their number because it's something that we had. It wasn't a cleanup number. Whether or not there's a big difference in work between that and the Strawberry Lake. Jim West did give us the price though, last week, so those two are real good barometers. The other two, I think, are there for information. They probably would have had a little better price, dealing down in the hole down there, so.
So on the stump grinding, how deep are they gonna go? I mean, is there some kind of parameters on this, or they just level it, or they go down a good foot, or?
Well, I don't know that answer, Lee. Otto was, basically set it up to grind it down. We're gonna leave the chips in place, so I don't think it's gonna go down like a whole foot, but I think it's gonna get it down to where, we're gonna have to come back in and do some reconditioning on the soil anyway.
No, I know these box elders, it's like a weed.
Right.
Is there gonna be something put down to
We
stop
are-
them from coming up?
Yeah, we're gonna do something over there to try and stop that. So we got some conditioning work to do. I think the biggest thing is to get the stumps out. It's gonna be a real mess if we are pulling the stumps. That's why we thought,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to add some conditioning to the soil anyway, in some of this area. So
Well, for that price, we can't possibly do it. I mean, even if
No,
we had the time,
I don't
I mean, $25 a stump, man, it's,
No, and they'll go in this winter, which is.
Oh, they will?
Yeah, absolutely. During the winter, they'll get in there, they'll have a tracked vehicle, tracked grinder, so they can get in there and they can do quite a bit of work during the winter. I think that's very helpful, especially for public to see that we're continuing on in that process.
George, has Parks and Rec talked about this at all, looked at this at all?
Not that I know of.
Well, George, we talked about the brushing, but this is something that came up in the last couple of weeks with, Otto said he got a price on the stumps, or from our last meeting. So we thought we ought to get this out. So I don't remember, we talked about that one outfit that out of Wisconsin. They gave us a price for the right-of-way brushing, and they had a grinder. I don't think it was, I think it was a flail grinder. And we talked about going into Strawberry Lake and doing that, but Otto didn't think the flail grinder was the best piece of equipment. And then he ended up talking to Newens, and they gave him this price.
Any other questions or comments?
if this is done, we'll be able to plant trees there this spring?
Yeah,
Or when we get them in?
That's my intent, is to try and get back in there and get some trees planted. It won't totally be planted, but it's a start. We can start getting some trees planted.
I certainly hope we don't cut any more trees down there until we get this area fixed up.
That's our goal, Doc, is to just work on this, concentrate on this area.
And most of the soil down there is rotted organic matter from back when it was a marsh, so I don't know that chips are gonna help too much, but.
Well, it has a deficiency of potassium and phosphorus. So we did get, Otto got a soil sample and we did an analysis. So we're gonna have to do some, depending on the species, tree that goes in there, we're gonna have to do some work, but it's definitely deficient in phosphorus.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course, there's no phosphorus in stumps, not a significant amount, because they have to get it from the ground.
We're gonna have to do some other conditioning, but
Anything else, or looking for a motion?
I'll make the motion that Newens Landscaping be approved for stump removal services at Strawberry Lake Park for a total price not to exceed $4,000.
I'll support. Motion made by Lee, supported by myself. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
No,
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Approval of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs Music in the Park grant application. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that came up very quickly today. We got contacted. We did apply for the Music in the Park grant. We've been successful the last couple of years. This is a grant out of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs. It is a no-cost grant to the city. Even though there's a match, it's money that we already spend and have been spending. It's for our city band. So one of the requirements they changed this year, and we weren't quite aware, we sent in the application, they called us back. They wanted council approval of the grant. The grant is exactly the same as we've done the last couple of years, the application. So it's basically other forms of bands, you know, that go off week from the city band all summer. So we're just requesting the council make an approval that we're committed to the application.
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion we support the application.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
And that's our business this evening. Lee, what do you got?
With the audience first.
I'm sorry. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on any subject? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Jean Bradford, 2465 Travis Farm Road. I have a couple questions. Regarding the stump grinding at the Strawberry Lake, why did you vote against it, George, just for my curiosity?
I was going to wait till after, Gene, to express my
Okay,
displeasure on
okay.
you'll
I'll wait
find-
then. What is the amount of this grant for the music in the park?
$4,000.
4,000? No cost to the city of Norway?
No, there would be a cost, but it's money we already spend on the city band. That counts as the match because the city donates to the for the city band every year.
And
That-
that's how much money?
8,000.
8,000?
We spend 8,000 a year for the city band. And we've
So
been doing
the
that for a long time.
4,000 grant would be a portion of that 8,000?
No,
It would be above that?
it'd be above. This is for the music that they have on nights that every other week that the city band
Correct.
doesn't play.
Okay. And then I just wanted to comment, I was not here for the last meeting, but I know there was a lot of complaints about the snow removal and whatever. Did that ever get worked out? I mean, have we decided what we're doing? You know, where you can't put snow on the sidewalk and my snow, your snow, city snow, county snow? What's the final answer on that?
I think that's something that's going to take all winter to work out. By the end of the snow season, I think we're going to figure out how to proceed from here on out. Because every property is different, everybody's issues are different, so it's very difficult. It's going to take a lot of time for us to work with all of the affected property owners.
Okay. Are the property owners required to shovel the sidewalk in front of their house?
No.
No.
The only sidewalk that's required to be cleaned is Main Street. The downtown area is Main Street.
Okay. Then I had another comment.
Are you sure on that, Jeremy?
Well, safe routes to school would be another one, but that's the only requirements we have. We're not,
Residents do not have
the
to...
residents do not have to
Property
shovel
owner
those
is
sidewalks.
not responsible for shoveling his own sidewalk.
We do not have an ordinance in the city of Norway to, no,
That was discussed as part of the right-of-way ordinance, and we opted to remove that.
yeah.
Okay, then my next comment was at that meeting, we're buying a new garbage truck, and Joe, you said to increase the rates, to set aside the money. How about if we limit some of the pickups. Now, I know we're supposed to have like 2 trash cans, no more than 100 pounds, and I've seen areas where people have like 3/4 of the block and the trash is picked up versus restricting to what we're allowed. Could we not cut down on some of the pickup versus increasing?
The increased fee would be to, right now, there's already a dollar every month put aside for the new garbage truck. We're
Correct.
talking about increasing that because the new trucks are getting more expensive. So it would be just increasing that to counter the rising price of the truck. Our current truck, we're not gonna quite have enough when we need to buy it in the account to just pay cash for it. So it'll come out of a different fund, but that specific set-aside fund won't quite have the balance. So we're gonna try to get it so that with the newer trucks being more expensive next time, there'll be enough in the account to cover it.
Have we thought about going another route, like enforcing what we have, like, just picking up the 2 trash cans versus, or the amount that we're supposed to put out?
Yeah, the ordinance specifies 100,
100 pounds,
yeah,
but,
100 pounds. So you could have 3, most of the cans are 33 gallon, so you get 100 gallons of trash. But you're right, I mean, there's people that put out probably more than that, and I know there's, like our family, we put out one can. And
right.
So we're technically subsidizing that, by paying for 3. So,
Okay, well,
so really, it comes down, the ordinance is already there that talks about the limit, the amount that we should
Correct.
pick up. So,
so basically, we're going to see a rate increase on the garbage.
well, we haven't evaluated the total. I mean, I wouldn't say definitely, I'm saying we gotta have to talk about.
Okay, well, those
But
are the things that I would like
think
to...
that Jean's point is well taken, that instead of having 100 gallons per customer, she's proposing maybe reducing it to 75 and reduce our tipping fees
Well,
and
no,
get the money there.
She's saying if you have 100 gallons, don't pick up 200 from one house.
Enforce the
Oh,
ordinance.
okay.
That's what
I
she's
took it as reducing the
No.
amount.
No, it's enforce the ordinance.
Oh,
We had those discussions in-house.
Okay.
Okay,
You could go to per bag as well. So if you do put out 5 cans or 5 bags or whatever,
right.
you pay for it. But then you're gonna also have people like myself, like you said, I'll only be paying for 1, so is it going to offset? You have to be careful with that too.
And my last comment regarding the automated trash pickup, I do not foresee that those will work in Norway, period. The streets are too narrow. I mean, I've lived in the city and I'm certainly aware of automatic trash pickup, and I do not see that truck would work.
The one that we're looking at considering, and we'll be talking more about, we have a special meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock to go over some business items, just council work session. And that's one of the things that will come up. The one we were talking about doesn't pick up from the side. It just flips from the back, so the guys don't have to lift the can. It'll be a special can that just will ride, they have to push up to it, and then it'll flip it in and put it down.
But then the cans themselves on wheels, they're quite bulky. And like with the slushy snow in the wintertime,
Right.
they're difficult to move.
Oh, I agree.
It's like pushing a market basket across Walmart's parking lot in the snow. So, anyway, that was my
Personally,
thought.
I agree with you on that. I don't think they'll work well for us, but that's a discussion the whole council's gonna have.
Okay. Well, I think I've used my 5 minutes, so I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, Lee, now you can go.
Okay. A couple items. I see in the paper tonight that the rate increase from We Energies for the whole UP has been put on hold.
Until March,
Until March, is it?
They put it on hold. The FERC has requested additional information from MISO, and so they put a 3-month hold on it. From what I understand, if it still goes through in March, it's not like they're not going to get reimbursed. They're going to probably recalculate it, could be more than 97 million, you know. They'll get their money if that goes through.
Well, in the meantime, it's on hold for a while anyway.
Yeah, it's on hold till March.
And going back to the snow, coming in from US 8, I was coming back from Green Bay yesterday, and it really looks impressive where you come in on 8th, and the sidewalks on both sides of Brown Street, all the way up to US 2, were shoveled. And it's a very good impression to somebody just going through town. It looked very, very nice. And I see also in the paper that Brading Township has paid their fair share of the partnership dues. Do we know if the other entity has paid theirs?
Iron Mountain has not, Kingsford has.
And the only other thing I have then is, don't forget our Santa Parade, 6 o'clock Friday night. That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
Well, I wanted to apologize to to the council. Last time I brought up about purchasing a welder for $7,000, which I thought was reasonable since we spent $29,000 last winter, and that a portable welder would be handy for the city, and that a portable generator would be handy for the city to have, so I thought would be an essential tool. But I know in the past I've been upset when council members have tried to micromanage and tried to tell the administration what to do. I still think it was a good idea, but since there is no support in administration or the council, I just like to draw back a little bit on that and say that I think it was a great idea, but I'm not sure why nobody else likes it. But I certainly wouldn't push it any further. That's the only comment I had.
Chris. George.
I just got a few. Joe, on miscellaneous topics that what Ray had sent out to us, can you elaborate a little bit on WUUP energy memo, a notice of rate change that is in here? Are you?
I don't receive that
No, that's,
same information that you have, so,
that's the rate change for WPPI.
okay.
Just if you could just touch on it. I don't want
Okay.
a mile-long thing.
Well, you know, every year WPPI does the same thing we do. They have a budget, and they look at how much their rates need to be to cover their expenses. They're a not-for-profit organization. And they're estimating that about 3% is what they're looking for a rate increase come this up January, and 1% of that was for the Presque Isle plant. 2% was for operations. So it's for a total of 3. That's what I know about it. I'll probably hear more about it next week. There's a full board meeting in Sun Prairie that I will be at, and it's concerning budget. So,
Just, if you're going to one of these meetings, Joe, if they could come up with an explanation why all energy companies encourage using less power. I mean, they'll do anything to use less power. You know, how much money they spend on advertising, what to do to use less power. And in the same token, the minute they use less power, they turn over and say, well, we didn't make as much money as we thought we were going to make last year, so now we got to raise the rates to make more money. Now, if they can, I mean, how can they pass this on to the public and get away with it? I guess that's my point. Just out of curiosity, I don't expect no explanation or nothing, really.
no, I have a comeback for you, George, and it's a pretty good one, because I've often wondered the same thing myself, you know. And it doesn't make a lot of sense when you're promoting using less of the product that you sell. It just, economics tell you that's not the right thing to do. And we've talked about that in great length at some meetings. But the way it was always described to me, that because of the cost of building a new nuclear plant or a new coal plant, which you probably won't build a traditional coal plant anymore, or putting up wind fields or solars or whatever, that the expenses of those things are billions of dollars to cover the hunger of the electric growth in the United States. So they've came up with a solution where if they try to get people to use less energy, they won't have to build that next $6 billion coal plant somewhere or a nuclear plant. And it's less expensive to go ahead and give people money to save energy than it is to have your rates increased to cover that billion-dollar plant or several billion-dollar plant. It's a less impact on your rate. And that's the philosophy that they've been operating under. So there you have it.
Okay.
Does that really work, though? Because if your rates are less, you'll just get more things that use the power. And so you'll use just as much with other devices.
You can look at it many ways. So that's,
Also, Joe, in these notes here, there's for $195,700 to purchase a new bucket truck. Where are we going on that? How far are we along on that, or what?
well, it's in the building stage right now. The chassis been delivered.
Okay, oh, yeah,
And-
okay.
Yeah, yeah. It
You made partial payment on it.
made a partial payment on it, yeah.
Also, right on the front page, on these, have 100 poles at $8 a pole attachment. What, is that the difference that we have on, with We Energies of the 100 poles?
No, that's not the
Or
difference.
that's total
No,
amount? Or-
that's total
Touch.
poles. We use some of We Energy's poles. Our cable TV system rides on
Right.
WE poles in areas that we serve where we don't have power poles. So our cable TV department pays WE $8, I believe, per contact for
Yeah.
those number of poles. AT&T uses many of our poles throughout the whole system, and they pay us $9.75, somewhere in that range, per pole contact. So that's how the pole agreement works.
Okay. And that's every year? And-
Correct, every year.
Okay, now, how often does that get updated? Or-
We did a total count on that, about 2 years ago.
Okay,
And then we update the actual cost. We have an escalating cost.
Yeah, it has a cost
that?
of living escalator in
Yeah.
it built right in.
Every year it goes up.
Yeah, so you don't have to address it every single year unless you have some major deficiencies.
I believe the last contract we had a 4-year span or something that it covered,
Yeah.
so.
okay, that's pretty much. Getting back to your question, Jeannie. You know, when we started this project over at Strawberry Lake, I was 100% for it because I thought it was eventually gonna look real good. But seeing the way that thing sat all summer, it was a disgrace. Now, I totally thought from day one that them stumps were to be removed by the same contractor that cut the trees out. Where I got misled, Jeremy told me that I was wrong, and I'm sorry I didn't, I missed a conversation someplace why I assumed that. But I think the part that bothers me the most is that we never go and do something with a total plan from start to finish. You know, we start something, and number one, we start something with not enough money. So we skimp and do everything possible, and it looks like crap from day one, and sometimes you never get done. And I just get fed up. And this is one of the things I'm fed up with. I mean, it's a dirty shame when you gotta, you know, it probably need another 5 years, and it probably still won't be done. Fed up with it. That's all I have, Jeremy.
I've got nothing. Joe,
No, I have no further comments.
Mary, Tricia,
No.
Grant,
No, thank you.
Ray.
Just that the Christmas parade is this Friday night, 6 o'clock, fireworks, parade, Santa, and have a safe couple weeks, you know.
How we do it on
hopefully it doesn't
the
get
ice rink? Is that-
Well, the ice rink is, we typically work on that for Christmas break. And the reason we didn't, even though it's been cold and then warm and then cold and then warm. So we're having a really strange time. So we could spend a lot of time putting ice down or putting water down, and it gets to 40 and it's gone. So I think that we have to see some consistency. Our goal is to have the ice rink ready for the kids when they hit Christmas break. Now, we do get quite a few calls in the office, especially when it's this cold.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Worth the
Yeah,
drive, huh?
take them home and read them, bring them back tomorrow morning.
It was worth the
We'll
drive.
talk about them more.